Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and welcome to Shelby Reads. I am a femme lesbian with a wonderful butch wife. We've been together for almost 6 years married and almost 13 years told now. Yay us. Coming right up. It's coming around the corner. If you want to hear more about sapphic books, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. We're almost at 100. Woo, let's go. Today we're going to talk about my spooky reading wrap up for October 2025. I read 11 books, bringing my total of 87 out of my 100 book goal, which puts me ahead of schedule by 4 books. I'm very happy about that. I was lagging behind in the first part of the year before I made my channel, and now I'm not, so yay! October is my favorite time of year. Every single year I do all my clothes shopping, I do all my decoration shopping. I also do 31 days of Halloween movies. That's always really fun for me. They're usually horror. So I decided to do some mood reading this year, which I don't normally do, but it was still a really fun time, and I'm probably gonna continue it into November for the most part, simply because there are some books I just couldn't get to. Also, if you're in New Hampshire and you don't consider November part of fall, your life is gonna be way sadder. I just gotta put that out there. So the first book I read was Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, which is a horror historical book. It's a vampire book. 10 years into their marriage, Lenore's relationship with her husband Henry has soured and no child has arrived to fill the distance between them. Lenore's frustration grows when Henry's ambitions, both work and societal, take them out of London and into the countryside to the imposing Nethershaw Manor, where he is planning to host a hunt. Lenore keeps a terrible secret from the last time her husband hunted, and though they never speak of it, it haunts their marriage to this day. A carriage accident near their home soon brings the mysterious Carmilla into Lenore's life. Carmilla is weak and pale during the day, but vibrant at night. Carmilla who will not eat meals with the family. Carmilla who stirs up a hunger deep within Lenore. Torn between regaining her husband's affection and the desire Carmilla's presence awakens in her, Lenore begins to unravel her past. Her search leads her to uncover a darkness in her household that's set on destroying her. Hungerstone is a mesmerizing reclamation of the lesbian vampire trope set against the backdrop of the voracious appetite of the Industrial Revolution. This is the best Carmilla retelling that I have ever read. Carmilla is my favorite classic, so I'm actually quite picky. I feel like it took the themes of Victorian sexual repression and also like expanded upon them, and it added like more rage that the main character being 30 desperately needed. I honestly cannot recommend this book enough. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on this book, I have a Carmilla versus her retellings video because I truly adore Carmilla. It is one of my favorite, well, it is my favorite classic of all time. It goes Carmilla, and then tied is Frankenstein and Wuthering Heights. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Into the Drowning Deep by Mira. This is also an adult horror, but it's also sci-fi. The ocean is home to many myths, but some are deadly. 7 years ago, the Atargatis set off on a voyage to the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax, others have called it a tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled, but this time they're not out to entertain. Some seek to validate their life's work, some seek the greatest hunt of all, some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the waves. But the secrets of the deep come with a price. This book is a super slow burn, so please don't go into it thinking that you're gonna get all of the horror right away. I feel like this is much more of a sci-fi overall, to be perfectly honest with you. I did complain a little bit on page bound just because it was getting kind of boring. We were like 50% in and there was nothing happening except science. I did like the science though, and I did like that it was explained very thoroughly. I feel that the author did a lot of research, especially on deep sea stuff. Once we got to the horror elements, I had a much more fun time. One of the scenes that really freaks me out is somebody goes down in a submersible, and submersibles are one of my worst fears. And one of my book club people asked me if I have a fear of like enclosed spaces, like claustrophobia. I was like, no, I have a fear of like dying in a really stupid, pointless way that's probably very painful and that is like deeply isolated from other people. So like spelunking, anything in the ocean, anything in space. I'm afraid of all of those things. No, thank you. I really liked the kind of surprise at the end. I really enjoyed it. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't quite my thing. Well, it was my thing, but it just like there was just something missing. I think it was too much science. Hot take. The third book I read was Ordinary Love by Marie Rutkoski. This is an adult lit fic. Emily has, by all appearances, a beautiful life, a townhouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side, 2 healthy children, and a husband who showers her with attention. But the truth is more complicated. Emily's marriage is in trouble, her relationship with her parents is fraught, and she is still nursing a heartbreak from long ago. When Emily runs into her high school best friend Jen at a cocktail party, that heartbreak comes roaring back. But Jen Hall is no longer the lanky, hungry kid with holes in her shoes who Emily loved in her youth. Instead, Jen is now a prominent Olympic athlete with sponsorship deals and a string of high-profile ex-girlfriends. Emily and Jen circle one another cautiously, both drawn together in magnetic attraction and scarred by their shared history. Once upon a time, Jen knew everything about Emily, and yet she still abandoned her. Can Emily trust Jen again? Can they forgive each other for mistakes they made in their youth? Can Emily risk her children, her privacy, and the fragile peace she has found with her family just to be with a woman she loved long ago? A sweeping queer romance, Ordinary Love is the beautiful, wrenching, completely seductive story of 2 people trying to forge a path through fear, bound by a love they discovered when they were too young to understand its power. So this was my pick for book club pick, and everyone picked it and everybody loved it. Everyone gave it 5 stars. I was so excited. And I will just say I have loved Marie Rutkoski since I read The Midnight Lie and The Hollow Heart, which is a fantasy duology by her for YA. It is incredible and has some of the most romantic quotes I can think of. This woman has the ability to destroy you emotionally if you let her, and it's not hard. She will. I will say I don't think that this book is primarily focused on the romance. I will say that I think this book is primarily focused on the abuse that Emily and her children have endured from her husband. And also there is a lot about their love story when they're teenagers and then again when they're adults, but I do feel that it's primarily about Emily and about her getting out of like a terrible situation. Even though sometimes it was extremely painful to be watching Emily make the completely wrong decisions, I still understood how she got there and I still found it very enjoyable. It's also just really cool for me to read books that are around the time period of when my wife and I came out. Like, the book came out this year, but it's set when my wife and I had come out. So I always find that really interesting and fun. We'll talk about a different one on this list though that does that did not win me over. As I said, everyone in my book club gave Ordinary Love 5 out of 5, so did I. I thought it was very good, and it does have a happy ending for all of those of you who are worried because it's labeled as lit fic and not as romance. So keep that in mind, okay? The 4th book I read was Collateral Damage by Shassii. It is an erotic thriller. Puppet. My life as I know it was taken from me, murdered in cold blood, now left with nothing but scattered pieces of my once perfect life and a shell of the girl I used to be, stuck with a monster who carries a hollow heart, a broken engine, a clown with an act for vengeance in blood. She speaks as if she knows me, but won't confess. I will get to the bottom of this. I will uncover her secret buried deep within these walls. Can I be the final piece in her broken engine to bring her back to life? Will I be her salvation? Will she be the beginning of my end? Puppeteer. This was meant to be my final act, but life had other plans, gifting me karma on a silver platter for my sins. Now stuck with a grieving girl who harbors a death wish in my presence, I will not apologize for my pain, only that this was never part of my plan. She was never meant to be a part of my show. She is simply collateral damage, caught in the crossfire of my ravenous revenge with a now incessant need to fix me. Fix something that cannot be fixed. She will be my undoing. Will she be my beginning or my end? I'm going to do a thorough rant review on this one, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It should be out next week, hopefully. This book is literally insane. There are so many cringy things that happen. Not to mention that the book, just on like a line for line basis, is basically unreadable. I still had a decent time despite the bullshit ending. If you want to know when I make a full video about it, please hit that bell notification and you won't miss any updates. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars, which is generous, I feel, but it's more about my enjoyment than the quality. The 5th book I read was Captive in the Underworld by Lianyu. It was a sapphic dark romance. Captive in the Underworld is a standalone dark lesbian romance novel set in mythological ancient Greece. It is rooted in the misogyny and cruelties of the Hades Persephone myth and contains sensitive material. Due to mature content and dark themes, this book is intended for adult readers only. It contains scenes depicting, it says non-consensual sex, but we all know what that is, death, abuse, kidnapping, assault, and other intimate partner violence. It is not recommended for readers sensitive to such content. Innocent Persephone chafes beneath her mother's hawkish gaze and mercurial temper. Demeter has rebuffed all her daughter's suitors, but she is not yet satisfied. She strives to crush Persephone's spirit. In the land of the dead, Queen Hades' word is law. Hades gets what she wants, always, and what she wants is a certain goddess of the springtime. Still, when Hades pulls her into the dark realm of the underworld, Persephone longs for the world above, even if it means an eternity under her mother's thumb. With her tears and pleas for freedom ignored by pitiless Hades, Persephone must learn to satisfy her keeper in all ways, lest she suffer the consequences. And though she cannot deny that something blooms within her, something forbidden, Persephone despairs of ever feeling the sun upon her skin once more. No matter the cost, Hades intends to keep her forever. I have a whole rant review about this one. It came out this week on Wednesday. Check it out if you want to. I actually didn't hate this book. I felt like because they were literal Greek gods and goddesses, I couldn't be like as mad about it because we all know that they're terrible and they were gonna do terrible things. I also think the author properly trigger warning to everything as far as I can remember, except for maybe incest. I am now realizing that, I think, yeah, but everything else was tagged perfectly fine. I loved that it was in third person, so I wasn't trapped in anybody's terrible POV. And honestly, this is the only dark romance I've liked so far. Finally, some good fucking food. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. There could have been some improvements, but I liked it overall. And it was honestly actually better written, like line for line, quality wise, than what I've come to expect of dark romance overall, to be perfectly honest with you. The 6th book I read was Extasia by Legrand. It is a YA horror. Her name is unimportant. All you must know is that today she will become one of the 4 saints of Haven. The elders will mark her and place the red hood on her head. With her sisters, she will stand against the evil power that lives beneath the Black Mountain, an evil that has already killed 9 of her village's men. She will tell no one of the white-eyed beasts that follow her, or the faceless gray woman tall as houses, or the girls she saw kissing in the elm grove. Today she will be a saint of Haven. She will rid her family of her mother's shame at last and save her people from destruction. She is not afraid. Are you? I really digged this freaky cult book, even if we were trapped in the head of the most delusional bitch alive. For so much of this book, she was like insufferable, but she was also a heavily indoctrinated 16-year-old, so can we really blame her? This is a little spoiler, so like if you don't want to hear it, just skip like a minute or so. I wish that what had happened to Temperance had been talked about more and how that affected her girlfriend. Even so, I still felt that this was a really great book that dealt with themes of trauma, misogyny, homophobia, scapegoating, and centuries of systemic violence. There's a lot of creepy supernatural stuff that's happening in this one, trying to reach for powers like beyond your normal scope of control and learning that the world is not what it seems. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 out of 5. I had a really good month overall this month, honestly, but we'll get to the ones that weren't as great. The 7th book I read was Where Darkness Blooms by Andrea. Hannah. I always want to say Hannah, but it's Hannah. It is also a YA horror. A lot of YA on this list. I don't know how it shook down that way. It just did. The flowers see everything. The town of Bishop is known for exactly 2 things: recurring windstorms and an endless field of sunflowers that stretches farther than the eye can see. And women. Missing women. So when Delilah, Jude, Whitney, and Beau's mothers go missing, no one in Bishop is surprised. The case is shut and the girls are left with a dusty old house and the shattered pieces of their lives until the wind kicks up a terrible secret at their mother's much delayed memorial. Delilah just wants to move on. She's been looking after them all since their mothers went missing with the help of her boyfriend Bennett. They just have one tiny problem. Every time Bennett touches her, she feels an unbearable pain searing through her. Whitney would like for the women in her life to stop disappearing or dying. First she lost her mother, then she lost her girlfriend Eleanor. She finds some relief when she visits an old weather vane from the time the town was founded, where she can hear Eleanor's voice asking her for more. But more what? Jude, Whitney's twin sister, would rather stay home and ignore it all. But the wind kicks up her secret too. Her summer fling with Bennett, Delilah's boyfriend, that feels like more than just a fling. Beau wants answers and she wants them now. She's convinced something happened to their mothers and that the townsfolk know what it was. She's sure of it. That's why she pushed them to do a memorial for their mothers. Bishop has always been a strange place, but what the girls don't know is that this town founded on blood is also deadly, and when it's through with them, no one might survive.
Wow! If I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Oddly enough, this book was very similar to Extasia, and I read them both the same week, like back to back. It has women being murdered / going missing in both of them. It has supernatural entities. It has men being quite literally the problem. This book actually made me cry at the end, and I don't cry that often at books. It was very good. I thought it handled all of the serious topics very well, particularly for YA, but please check the trigger warnings before you read this one or Extasia. There's quite a lot of like violence against women specifically. It has some very triggering stuff in it. I don't want anybody to be caught off guard. That being said, I gave this book a 5 out of 5. If a book makes me cry, and it's like a genuine cry, I feel like I have to give it a 5. The 8th book I read was Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Faridah. I have to read her name because it's hyphenated. Hold on. By Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. It is a YA thriller novel. After being homeschooled, Saad Hussein is starting her 3rd year of high school at the prestigious Alfred Nobel Academy boarding school. Misfortune has been a constant companion throughout her life, but even she doesn't expect her new roommate Elizabeth to disappear after Saad's first night, or for people to think she had something to do with it. With rumors swirling around her, Saad catches the attention of the girls known as the Unholy Trinity. Between learning more about them, especially Persephone, who Saad is inexplicably drawn to, and playing catch-up in class, Saad already has so much on her plate. But the police are hardly looking into what happened to Elizabeth, so it's up to her and Elizabeth's best friend, Baz, to investigate. And then a student is found dead. As Saad and Baz try to make sense of it all, she realizes there's more to Alfred Nobel Academy and its students than she thought. Secrets lurk around every corner and beneath every surface. Secrets that rival even her own. This book was so good, I could not exactly figure out what was happening for pretty much the entire time. I mean, I'm so blessed when I read thrillers and horror though, because I never know where anything's going with those, and I don't know why. It's like my pattern recognition just shuts off the second I'm reading these. I'm like, please make sure you check the trigger warnings with this one also, because like it also deals heavily with violence against women. I don't know how I accidentally did so many in a row, but I did. I loved that it was centered around the queer characters and that the mystery kind of like came together in such an interesting way. It did remind me how odd the British justice system is compared to the US, in my opinion. Like, I'm not used to it. That's why it's odd to me. But again, I'm from the US, so it's clearly very different. That was actually a problem in Collateral Damage too, is that the author was actually British, but she made it take place in like Chicago, and she clearly did not know how the US criminal justice system works. So like I think Americans and British people are just misunderstanding each other constantly. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It is so good. Like, I highly recommend it. I have another one of her books. I think it's the Ace of Spades. I'm so excited to read that. So excited. The 9th book I read was Raising the Horseman by Serena Valentino. It is a YA horror. From the New York Times best-selling author of Disney's Villain series comes a ghostly new standalone novel that reimagines the legend of Sleepy Hollow through the eyes of a modern teen. The 200th anniversary of the Headless Horseman's legendary haunting of Sleepy Hollow is approaching, but Kat Van Tassel wants nothing to do with the town's superstitious celebrations. As a descendant of the original Katrina Van Tassel, Kat knows she's expected to fulfill her ancestors' legacy by someday marrying her longtime boyfriend and running the prestigious family estate. But Kat dreams of a life outside Sleepy Hollow. Then Kat meets Isadora, a new girl in town who challenges Kat to re-examine those expectations, opens her eyes to the possibility that ghosts are real, and makes her question who she truly wants to be and be with. When Kat is given the original Katrina's diary, a new legend begins to take shape, one that weaves together the past and the present in eerie ways. Can Kat uncover a 200-year-old secret and trace its shocking reverberations in her own life in time to protect what she truly loves? Fans of Serena Valentino will delight in this supernatural coming-of-age tale that finally gives the women of Sleepy Hollow a chance to tell their side of the story. Where to begin with this one? This one felt like a middle grade book, which would be fine if it was advertised that way, but it's not. It's in YA. There's nothing terrifying or scary about this book, so I can't even call it a horror. I feel like it's just like a regular book with like some spooky elements or whatever. There is supposed to be diary entries in here to show the original Katrina's stuff, except that it's written in fucking third person and we get everybody else's thoughts too. Why? Like, that's not what a diary is. I hate it here. It just didn't do it for me. It just didn't scratch the itch. It was just, and it's really sad because I wanted to be excited because Disney very rarely ever comes out with any LGBT anything. So I was excited, but I apparently shouldn't have been. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. It's fine, I guess. But like, if someone asked me if I recommended it, probably no, including to YA kids. I think some of my kids at my job might like it, but they're significantly younger than what I would like, what this book says it's for. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could give this to some of my 12-year-olds and they would be fine. So like, The 10th book I read was Women by Chloé Caldwell. It was an adult lit novella. What I know for certain about this time, my pupils were expanding. I never did figure out if this was a symptom of falling in love or a side effect of the Chinese herbs my transgender friend Nathan was hooking me up with. This is how Chloé Caldwell's Women begins. It is a novella about falling in love with a woman, about loving women, about being a woman. It is a novella about a mother and a daughter, a novella about female friendships that blur the line of romance, a novella about a woman who, after having her first sexual relationship with a woman, goes on a series of comical OkCupid dates with other women. A novella about a woman in her 20s who doesn't know if she's gay or straight or bi. A novella about falling in love and having your heart broken and figuring out what to do next. The book is an urgent recall of heartbreak, of a stark identity in crisis. Was this book meant to be horror? No, but it was a horror novel to me. Not only was this plot like my worst nightmare because of like the cheating and the insane stuff, but like it was largely nonsensical in my opinion. It skips around so much, often like I feel like trying to sound profound or have things that are like related that actually aren't related. All I have to say is that I'm glad I will never have to experience anything like this in my entire life hopefully, because this would be my 13th reason. The only thing that could have made this book more horrifying to me is if they had put a freaking chimpanzee in it. Spoiler warning for the last bit, okay? Justice for the girlfriend who was a victim of these two jackasses cheating, and we never find out if Finn stays with her or stops stringing her along. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I read this with my Sapphic book club also. Most of us didn't really like it, which like it happens sometimes. We had great discussions about it though, so like it's fine. Like I gave this book 2.25 stars on Storygraph. It's, yeah. I liked like one paragraph, so that's what the rest of the points are for. The 11th and last book that I read was The Innvocations by Krystal Sutherland. It is a YA horror. Zara Jones believes in magic because the alternative is too painful to bear, that her sister was murdered by a serial killer and there is precisely nothing she can do to change it. If there's anything Zara cannot stand, it's feeling powerless. So she decides she will do whatever it takes, even if that means partaking in the occult, to bring her sister back from the dead. Jude Wolfe might be the daughter of a billionaire, but she is also undeniably cursed. After a deal with a demon went horribly wrong, her soul is now slowly turning necrotic. Flowers and insects die in her wake, and monstrous things come to taunt her at night. If Jude can't find the right someone to fix her mistake, she fears she'll die very soon. Enter Emmer Bryn, the solution to both Zara and Jude's predicaments. The daughter of a witch, Emmer sells spells to women in desperate situations, willing to sacrifice a part of their soul in exchange for a bit of power, a bit of magic to change their lives. But Emmer has a dark past all her own, and as her former clients are murdered one by one, she knows it's followed her all the way to London. As Zara and Jude enter Emmer's orbit, they'll have to team up to stop the killer before they each end up next on his list. I will say I didn't like her other book, House of Hollow, that much. I think I gave it a 4, but that kind of feels generous, honestly. I didn't really love it. But I loved this book. I was obsessed with this book. It has necromancy, which is like my favorite magic ever. I was so excited about it. There is so much. There's like queer longing. There's a really great passage. Actually, I'm gonna read it to you, where it's like a lesbian character, and I've been dying to have this kind of perspective in a book because it feels like a very lesbian perspective. Okay, are you ready? She's deeply disinterested in men, not only on a sexual level, but also on an intellectual one. It's not that she despises them exactly, but rather that she doesn't quite see the point of them. They're violent and brutish and arrogant. They walk through spaces as though they own them. Why? As far as she's concerned, they're inferior to women in almost every way. Women are better lovers, better leaders, better investors, better communicators, yet she's seen firsthand the power that men gather and wield. She knows it's not their fault. The patriarchy has damaged them. But still, sold me. Sold me. I really loved how everything came together at the end of this book. It was freaking crazy, but in the best way. Like, everything was going poorly for the characters, but I love when stories have like consequences for actions. It was amazing. It truly was. It was so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Immaculate. Serious improvement from The House of Hollow, honestly, to be perfectly real with you. All right, I read 11 books in October and 3,623 pages. Woo! All of them were fiction and all of them were LGBT. They were all sapphic this time. My average rating for this month was 4.25 stars, which is pretty high. I did pretty well picking out books for myself this time. There were some absolute winners and then there were some that kind of fell short or were awful. You know who you are, book number 10. In the comments, tell me what you read in October and what you loved. Tell me what you're gonna do for Halloween. Did you read any horror? Did you read any thrillers? Did you go anywhere cool? My kids dressed up as dinosaurs. I'll put a little picture here. My little puppies. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel. I hope you guys have a great weekend and an amazing Halloween, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!